So this happened probably around 10, 11 years ago, when I was 15 or 16. For a little backstory, the legal drinking age in my country is 18, so if you want alcohol and didn't have a fake ID or a parent to get it for you, then you had to wait around the outside of the off-license liquor store for the Americans until someone came by who agreed to go in and purchase the alcohol for you. So we waited around, found someone who was willing to go in and buy our alcohol for us, and got him to purchase a few bottles of vodka for me and a few friends, 2 of which I was with and the others we were meeting after we'd done this. Now, as it was around 6 p.m., we decided it was too much of a risk to decant our vodka into less suspicious-looking bottles in the middle of the street, as it was very busy. So we did what we would usually do in this situation, and found a nearby food place to quickly run in and use the bathroom to decant our alcohol so we could be on our way. This time we chose to do this in a nearby McDonald's. We'd done it before, so we knew it was a safe bet. We go into McDonald's and head straight for the bathroom, as we'd done a million times before. As we get into the bathroom, me and my other 2 friends, we'll call them Harriet and Kara, all occupy one cubicle to get the job done and get out and back to our drinking ASAP. And I previously mentioned we had done this lots of times before and usually opted to come into this McDonald's, as it was usually busy, which meant no one paid attention to 3 teenagers running straight into the toilet without purchasing anything. So anyway, we're all in there doing our thing when I could suddenly hear a lot of shifting and moving around above us. I figured it was possibly the air conditioning and opted not to tell my friends, as I thought it would freak them out. We get the job done, and as we're about to leave the cubicle, we hear a giggle and, "Where are you girls off to?" I was presenting as female at the time. I looked up and see the forehead and eyes of a male who just looked to be about 30, staring out from underneath a tile in the ceiling that he'd slightly lifted. We were all in shock, just staring at this guy, who proceeded to giggle down at us and ask our names, where we were going, and if he could come. We're all in shock because, let's be honest, who really expects there to be some random guy in the ceiling of a McDonald's? Being a teenager who thought I was untouchable, I proceeded to tell the guy that he was a perv and to fuck right off. The guy seemed to enjoy this and giggled a little more, still shifting around in the ceiling, never taking his eyes off of us. Now I should probably mention that along with pouring our drink into the other bottles, we pre-rolled a few joints, so we were terrified to alert anyone at this point, as we were young and terrified of our parents finding out. The guy still staring at us proceeds to ask questions like, "What age are you guys? Where do you live? Can I have some of your drink? A smoke of your weed?" Still all the while twitching and fidgeting overhead. Then he started to lift the tile, and as we're all stuck in a cubicle with this guy above us, we knew the only way for him to get down was to come down directly on top of us, so we noped out at that point pretty quickly. We went outside and discussed what we were going to do, and I decided to go back in and alert someone. As it was a very busy McDonald's and I knew there would be women and children in and out of the toilet until closing time, I didn't want to risk that creep staying up there just to spy on them, especially since I knew he was there and had witnessed his behavior firsthand. So I go in, tell a member of the staff that I'd been in the toilet for a long while taking a phone call. Terrible lie, but my 15, 16-year-old brain was too scared to tell the truth in case they alerted the police. And that's when the guy had appeared, and to my shock, they were completely unsurprised. They were just pissed off more than anything. I see a few male members of staff enter the toilet, and I figured they could handle it from there, so I went on my way. We still went into that McDonald's, but never had any encounters with the ceiling guy again. We're not even sure if the guy got caught, as we didn't hear anything about it afterwards. So to the creepy guy in the ceiling, watching the girls' bathroom with a bird's eye view, let's not ever, ever meet again.
Hi guys, I'm Paul. I feel like telling you this experience that happened to me back in 2009. At the time, I was willing to pass the preparatory exam to be a nurse. I am a nurse for 7 years now, so yay, cool I guess. Yet back in 2009, I was just a psychology uni drop-off, low on money, and crashing at my dad's. The entrance fee for the exam was huge, and I know I would need to find a job for 8 months to collect enough. Only, I had absolutely zero skill in whatever. I was boxing at the time, so a friend of my dad who worked as a night security officer suggested my profile to his boss. The fellow called me the very same day, and after the shittiest interview ever, he took me in the team. They sent me night shifting at the coronary hospital unit for 5 months. My job was simple, 3 watches per night, and I had to register every person entering the morgue between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. The head unit told me I was supposed to see 5th and 6th year med students coming to train on surgery once in a while. I also had to expect Roger, the main coronary who happened to come at 3 a.m. twice a week to collect police boards and check on admissions. The nights were hard. I think I never felt this much alone in my whole life. The thing is, I had to witness the corpses every time I did my watch. Some were hidden under sheets, some exposed for the next day in scheduled autopsies. When the elevator doors would open, it was a pure relief. The med students were nice and we used to chit-chat sometimes. I even helped one to install a corpse for him to train on a digestive surgery because the person was too heavy to handle alone. Twice a week, Dr. Roger came at 3 a.m. precisely. He never gave me more than 3 words, closed the doors of the autopsy room, and left every time before 5 a.m. He was a tall, balding guy in his 50s. One day at 3 a.m., I was studying behind my desk when the doors of the elevator opened. 2 guys came out, a chubby black guy with a gray hoodie and a small and muscular fair-haired dude. At first, they stood behind the desk without speaking a word. Then the blonde guy asked if he could enter. When I asked him his name, he told me Dr. Roger. He then gave me his ID card. I knew this ID because I saw it 30 times already. The infos were alright, only the picture was like badly glued on it. It was the small blonde guy. I was panicked as hell. The only thing I've been able to do is calling the cops in the WC while telling the 2 strangers to wait a second. Back in the desk room, the 2 guys were still there. The black dude looked weird, like on the verge of getting spontaneously aggressive. I saw his hands nervously clutching his pockets, and the white of his eyes seemed more red than previously. The other dude had trouble looking me in the eyes and was frantically scratching his jaw. I knew things were about to get bad. The elevator door reopened. It was 2 students. The 2 weird dudes jumped back in the elevator as the doors were closing back. When the cops arrived, they asked me a few questions and sent me back home. Next day, my boss gave me the news. Dr. Roger had been assaulted by 3 persons 2 days before. They left him safe, but stole his bag with his wallet in it. I don't know who those guys really were and what they wanted. The real Dr. Roger said later they probably were junkies looking for meds or toxics.
This story is by Miss 40. Hi, I wanted to share a story with you that happened to me many years ago and still gives me goosebumps. My husband and I moved into a small house as our first home about 20 years ago. It was old, approximately 100+ years, and we didn't have a good feeling about it. It was always as if someone was watching us, and really creepy at night. Anyway, it was 2004, and we had just bought the latest flip mobile phones. I decided to take a selfie. I took the picture of myself sitting in the chair facing the back door, and when I turned the phone back around and looked, I shuddered. Behind me stood a black hooded figure, all black with a sort of white highlighted glow around it. The figure looked like a nun, hunched over, looking down, and holding a baby in its arms. It frightened me and my husband at the time, but we forgot about it after a few days. Then 3 weeks later, to the day, I was in work on a Saturday morning, when I was overcome with severe pain and started bleeding heavily. I was rushed to the hospital, scanned, and rushed to emergency surgery. It was all a blur to me at the time, it happened so fast. When I awoke, I was told I'd had an ectopic pregnancy. I was 16 weeks pregnant and didn't even know. The baby would not have survived, and I would have most certainly died without medical intervention. It was a very traumatic experience, and I've never forgot it. I do wonder if someone came to me and was looking after my baby, warning me of what was about to happen. but it's remained totally unexplained.
This story is by Pac-Man Schulte. To give context, I'm a 25-year-old male. I started a job at a company that makes lenses for glasses, and immediately I was introduced to Nate, an awkward guy around my age that seemed like he had good intentions. He was nice enough, but I figured that most people humored him when it came to talking to him. I was convinced that he was on the spectrum in the realm of Asperger's. I've had friends in the past who had Asperger's, and I didn't really mind. Besides, we seemed to like the same things, including Dungeons and Dragons. My D&D group was small, and we wanted more people, and knowing that he was into D&D, I invited him to come join. My now wife, then fiancée, immediately grew uncomfortable when he came into our home to make his character. And when it came to actually playing sessions, another girl at our table also expressed that she was uncomfortable. I didn't feel great about it, so after 3 or 4 sessions we kicked him out and continued playing, but I still had to see him at work, which led to him always acting sad around me. But I wasn't going to give in. Eventually I kept telling him that I was starting another group and he could join that one, yada yada yada. His pity party was starting to annoy me, so I said whatever to keep him at bay. One day at work he had the day off, and the following weekend, not me or my coworkers saw this as strange, but then when Monday came, he still didn't show up. Tuesday, no show. This was very unlike him because he was practically a teacher's pet. Soon, one of my coworkers was moving around the warehouse with a phone in her hand, stopping people and sharing the news. Nate had been arrested in North Dakota, as he attempted to meet an underage girl for sex. We were all in disbelief, because that's the first feeling that hits you. You don't want to believe somebody like that could live in your town, lest work right beside you. Indeed, he was in contact with a minor over the internet, and set up a meeting at a park with the intention of having sex. The police were tipped off as a teacher just happened to see the messages on the girl's phone. I nearly puked when I heard the news. He was in my home and made comments about my kids being so cute, especially my daughter, which definitely made me more sick. He would talk to me sometimes about wanting a girlfriend and how he was just waiting for the right one to come along. Someone in his church group, and now it scares me to think how old this girl was. One of my friends at work mentioned how he went to install a washer and dryer at Nate's house, and when looking around he was yelled at by Nate to not go upstairs. Not in a, "oh, that's my room and I'd prefer no one to go up there" type of vibe, more like, "there's something up there that I don't want you to see" type of vibe. He was arrested and put in prison, like I said, and remains there to this day as far as I'm concerned. Just goes to show that you can't really know everybody, and that's what's truly scary.